Welcome to Charged Up Studio Live, where small business owners get charged up for success. Are you a small business owner? Do you find yourself struggling through the many responsibilities that come with the title entrepreneur? Well, we're here for you. Charged Up Studio is hosted by Market Atomy LLC, your prescription for what we call OPA. What is OPA? It's when you become so overwhelmed with the confusion that comes with business ownership that you become paralyzed and ultimately avoid doing anything in hopes it will take care of itself, or you put it off till later. Does that sound familiar? I'm your host, Dan Olivo, and each week we bring a business professional eager to charge you up as they talk about the many things that keep you from moving forward with your small business. So are you ready to get charged up for success? Let's hit it. So welcome everyone to another exciting episode of Charged Up Studio. I'm your host, Dana Olivo, and today we have a very special guest with us, a marketing guru who's on a mission to help small business owners stand out in a crowded marketplace. Jeff Barnes is the Digital Evolution Marketing with the Digital Evolution Marketing Group is going to talk about a topic that's incredibly important to all of you small business owners out there. In a world where competition is fierce, how can you make your business shine brightly? And how can you uncover and communicate your uniqueness effectively? Jeff is not just any marketing expert. He's someone who's been in the trenches, working with businesses of all sizes and helping them find their authentic voice in the midst of the noise. So let's all give a heartfelt Charged Up Studio welcome to Mr. Jeff Barnes.
Thank you so much for having me here, Dana. I appreciate it.
No, definitely. I'm excited to have you on the show today. So before we get started, I always ask our podcast guest one specific question. So are you ready?
Let's do it.
To break the ice, let everybody get to know a little bit more about you. So if you could go back in time and give your young self some solid advice, what advice would you give him and at what age?
Ooh, that's a good question. And I would go back to when I was 16 years old. And at that point in my life, all I wanted to do was play baseball. That was my only path I wanted to do. I had no ambitions for literally anything else. And I had ruined my shoulder. I had injured myself and I had gone through surgery, and I realized that baseball was probably not going to be my career. I had no idea where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do. I was like, rudderless. And, for when you're 16, you don't like to listen to most people anyway. So it would be hard for me to give myself advice, but I would just say it's okay. It's okay, the path you're going down. It's going to be just fine.
And it turned out just fine, right, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, there's been plenty of bumps and bruises along the way, ups and downs, and
It would
mountain
have been
peaks and
whether you
valleys
went
below.
with baseball or not,
Exactly.
either way. And that's important to understand that, it's not easy peasy moving forward,
Nope, it is not.
You just got to have that stamina there.
Mm-hmm.
So to kick things off, okay, can you explain why small business owners struggle to differentiate themselves in the marketplace? What are the common challenges that they face?
Yeah, it's a great question. In one hand, it's really easy to answer. On the other hand, it's actually very difficult to come up with a solution for it, right? So the easy answer for why most businesses, small, medium, large, doesn't matter, but definitely small businesses struggle in the marketplace is because there's so much more noise now than there ever has been in human history, right? The attention span of most people is about 2 seconds, so we don't have the ability to rattle on for a long period of time and get people to perk up and pay attention. Gone are the days when you were the only proprietor of something in town. You know, you can go all the way back to, the Middle Ages, and you had one blacksmith if you were lucky in town. You had one tanner, one person that could actually build a hut or build a home, where most people had to rely on their own skills. And you fast forward to today, and not only are there multiple vendors of almost everything in every little local town, but now we're competing with people worldwide with the internet, and on top of that, we're
Right.
also competing with apathy. We're competing with misguided attention and people on their phones all the time. And so it's very, very difficult to break through. And it leaves a lot of small business owners really struggling and trying to figure it out and navigating the sea and hiring one guru after another and one expert after another. And they end up just more lost and more confused than ever before. And most business owners don't go into business because they want to be marketers, right? They go into business because they want to do the thing they learned how to do, whether it's a chiropractor, a dentist, an auto shop repair guy, a plumber. It doesn't matter. They want to go do their thing, and learning marketing wasn't really on their radar.
Right.
Giving an example, my ex was a chiropractor. They had not one quarter, not 1 year, one class on the business of being a chiropractor throughout her 2.5 years of schooling. And of course, in her undergrad, there wasn't a single talk about business management, let alone marketing and advertising.
Right.
And that's the folly of every industry that I've seen, right? Including marketers, believe it or not. Most marketers
Oh,
don't learn the
it's,
first thing about it. They learn,
yeah.
I went and I got my MBA, and we had a marketing quarter, and it was one quarter out of a 3-year program, essentially. And at the time I was already into marketing. I was studying marketing
Right.
religiously. And the thing that we were learning? We were learning about price elasticity for, Fortune 500 companies, and how you can actually get better pricing or get better value for these companies. And there was not very much talked about boots on the ground, guerrilla marketing, grassroots
Right.
marketing, definitely no talk about direct response marketing, right?
Right.
And as a result, most people don't really understand what marketing even is.
No.
And that's where a lot of people struggle.
No, you're absolutely right. I didn't go for an MBA, but I have a BS in marketing. But I learned very early on, even going through college, okay, for my marketing degree, the number of marketing graduates going and entering into the market. Okay, how was I going to set myself apart from them going out? All right, everybody was going for, pharmaceutical, everything else. And I quickly decided that I was going to dual major, and decided I was going to get also couple it with database design, because at that time databases were highly and even to today, when you look at it, the data collection process, with AI and everything, is extremely important. So understanding, where that value, and that leads us to this next question I have is, identifying one's uniqueness. It's
Yeah,
often easier said than it's done.
it is.
How do we get past, how do we really make a statement? I mean, me personally, part of what I see is it's the way we look at things. Okay. Too many times we make assumptions on what the market wants rather than really putting ourselves in the shoes. So talk to that.
Yeah. You're exactly right. A lot of people will look through the lens of, here's what I want to do for the world. Here's what I want to provide. And they completely forget that, anybody who's a parent can relate to this. The words that are coming out of my mouth are not the same words that are going into my kids' ears, and they definitely don't resonate with what they're hearing, right? What I'm trying to say. And it's the same thing with marketing. So when I was working, and I still do a lot of work with entrepreneurs and startups, a lot of them come like they're the hammer, right? We're the hammer. In other words, I've got a solution, and I'm going to make sure I find those nails, and I go pound, like, again, everybody knows the saying, to the hammer, everything looks like a nail. Right?
Right.
And when we are in the trenches learning our skill set, we are learning all the reasons why our skill set is important. It's valuable. And we are learning all the reasons why our skill set is important. It's valuable. And we are learning all the reasons why our skill set is important. It's valuable. And we are learning all the reasons why our skill set is important. It's valuable. And we are learning all the reasons why our skill set is important. It's valuable. graphic design, illustrations, artists in general, landscapers, doctors, attorneys, the surgeons, the plumber, the the roof layer and the bricklayer. They all know why their solution is valuable, why their skill is valuable, but they've never figured out how to explain that in terms of solving a problem for somebody else.
Right.
So a lot of businesses that are out there might be what we would consider a commoditized business. And as a commoditized business, you go in thinking, well, everybody needs this. Everybody wants this. And that's not the truth in general. But let's just stick with a chiropractor example. For a very long time, chiropractors were the redheaded stepchild of the medical industry, and they still sort of are, but they've gained a little bit more notoriety and come back into good graces because of a lot of history I don't need to go into. However, there's 13 chiropractors here in my hometown. And that would tell a chiropractor, oh, great, that means there's a need for this. And there is. But now you're going up against 13 others just in this town, let alone the 300 that are in the local community at large, right? And so to get through that noise that we were talking about earlier, you have to really identify what the problem is that you solve. And everybody's heard this. Yeah, okay, I know what the problem is I solve, but it doesn't mean that the problem that you're solving is being enunciated or relayed in a way that the person who has the problem understands that, let alone the person who has the problem doesn't know they have the problem, right?
Exactly.
So I don't remember which great marketer it was that made this famous. It might have been Eugene Schwartz, but they were talking about the fact that in any given market, any given industry, only about 3% of any given industry or any market is actively looking for a solution to their problem, and they know what that solution is.
Yeah.
So again, using the chiropractors as an example, if you had 100,000 people in a town that had a back problem, let's just say all 100,000 people have a back problem, there's only about 3% of them that are actively looking for a solution. There's a much larger, the 97%, either A, don't know what their problem is, B, don't know that they even have a problem, C, know that they have a problem but don't know what the solution is,
Right.
D, know that they have a problem and know what the solution is but don't know where to go to find that solution. Right. And then, of course, the last one is I have a problem, I know what the solution is, I know where to go and find that solution, I know exactly who I want to help me solve that problem, right? And so most people are trying to market to only those 3%. And that's a challenge because everybody else is marketing to that same 3% that you are going after, right?
Right.
And if we were to think about the yellow pages, or, let's go with Google, for example. If you go back to the yellow pages days, when did somebody look up the P's for the plumbers in the yellow pages? Well, it was when they had a plumbing issue, right? That's what I'm referring to. That's the person that knows they have a problem. They're actively looking for a solution and they know exactly where to go look for the solution. Now it's just a matter of you standing out amongst all these other people. And that's what a lot of people think marketing is. I'm standing out amongst my existing competition. And that's a really naive approach to take to it, because now you're just trying to differentiate yourself against your direct competitors. And so what do people do? They price gouge, right? They cut their prices and they say, okay, well, we'll be the lowest cost. Well, that's a race to the bottom. Then you might have other ones that are smart and they say, no, we're going to be the highest cost. And we're going to put ourselves in this elite category and we're going to charge 10 times what everybody else does because we only want to go for a small segment of the market. That's a strategy. But it ignores the fact that, and there's reasons you would do both of those, but those are a result of trying to figure out who you want to target in the first place, not necessarily who you're going against.
Right.
So I'll pause with that and see if you have any thoughts or questions on that one.
No, and it's funny that you're talking about chiropractors, as an illustration, because I'm going through this process right now, whereas, I've had some major back issues, and I was seeing my chiropractor, but every time I went to the chiropractor, I'd come out feeling worse. And it wasn't until I did a little bit more research that I realized or was introduced to what they call active release techniques. It's still done by a chiropractor, but it's muscle manipulation versus spinal manipulation. So, and when I went back to my old chiropractor and said, are you certified to do this? And he says, no, we're not. That's where it ended. If he had turned around and said, no, I do not, but I'll go ahead and I'll see what I can do to bring it in, that would have been, something that might have, had me stay with him. But as a result, I ended up going to a different chiropractor so that I could get the art therapy. This is what you're talking about as far as with the noise and hitting those people. I was in the market. I was part of that 3% at the time, you know.
Yep.
So
But he
yeah,
didn't know how to communicate to you or give you a solution that was going to
right,
work, right?
right,
And that's again, that's the 3%. That's somebody that's actively looking for a solution, and that's great. But imagine if you had gotten that information about what the different types of therapies are and techniques and things like that before you'd ever set foot in. Like, what's the progression? And a lot of people miss this customer journey idea, right?
exactly.
They say, people are looking for me. I just need to be louder, more boisterous. I need to have bigger colors and bigger banners and put the little wavy guy on the side of the road that's going to attract attention, because then they'll see us and then they'll come.
Right,
It doesn't work, right? People don't come into any car dealership or anything because they see the waving balloon man, right? If
right,
anybody here has, and that's what attracted them in, I'd be very curious to hear that story. But what are they doing long before they ever come in the door? And we developed what we call the Atlas method. And so the Atlas method is a way to think about a customer journey. There's so many different pieces to this, but the Atlas method is about awareness first and foremost, right? Is your ideal customer even aware of you and or what you can do? Okay? So going back to it, if this is after somebody realizes they have a problem and they're looking for a
right,
solution.
right,
But sometimes it's awareness of the problem, right? Did you know that having this type of water pipe in your house is causing you to end up with, you know,
right,
um, you know, skin disease or whatever, or rashes or things like that? Well, geez, I didn't even know that was even a possibility. I should probably look into that. Maybe I should go, what do I do? Right. So now I'm making you aware of a potential problem. And by making you aware of this, what are you going to start doing? You're going to start researching. You're going to start looking into that. Well,
exactly.
now we come to the position of all of this traffic. The T is for traffic. So I have 25 million results on Google. Which one do I choose? Right. So now I'm looking for a solution. I'm trying to understand the problem more. I am looking for a place to go to get this problem solved.
Right,
I'm looking for somebody to give me answers. Maybe I can solve it myself. And maybe
right,
that's what people need to provide. Is they need to provide that education-based marketing, we call it. So I look and I say, oh, there's a website that speaks exactly to what I want. Great. I'm going to click on that. Now you have traffic. This is akin to long before the internet, people walking by a shop and then they walk in the door. Great. I have foot traffic in the door. That's wonderful. But if they don't make a purchase right then and there and they turn around and walk out, yeah, it's great that we had people show up, but we didn't get the results we wanted. A lot of people are totally okay with just having traffic, right? They forget that we're in business to make money. So we have to get a
exactly.
transaction.
That's
So
true.
the next step is we got to get a lead. This person walks in the door, they've gone from suspect, where they didn't know anything about this problem, to prospect, where they're looking at the problem. And now we got to turn that prospect into a lead. Well, how do we do that? We have to capture some information from them so that we can follow up. Did you
Right,
know, Dana, that right now Google is saying, on average, the person who is looking to make a buying decision, they will have to have had 500 different touch points along the
wow,
way, not from one brand, but over 500 times that they have seen, heard about, read about, learned about a problem and a solution before they will make a buying decision. 500. Now, that doesn't mean that I have to send out 500 emails, right? That might mean, man, my back feels kind of weird. Wonder what that could be. And I Google that. And then I go down this rabbit hole. And all of a sudden I'm reading article after article. I'm listening to podcasts and doing this. So they're educating themselves. Like, that's what
right,
people are doing now. We're not
right.
just walking into the doctor's office and expecting the doctor to give us all the answers. We're researching ourselves because we can't. That's another challenge that small businesses face.
Exactly.
So so now that they've learned, well, we got to capture a lead because we want to keep following up. So name, phone number, email, mailing address, whatever you can gather from them, so that you can keep following up, because we know they're not going to make a buying decision 99% of the time on the very first encounter,
Yeah,
right? So now we've got them a lead. What do we want that lead to do? We want them to take an action, right? That's the next piece, an action. And that action could be consume my material, download the PDF, watch this video, go read this article, come in for a free consult, come in
right. Right. Those are all touch
and to
points.
get
Yeah.
evaluated. And
Yeah.
only after they, yeah, those are all touch points. And then after all of that, only after all that, can we finally initiate a sale transaction, right? So that's our Atlas map. That's a way for people to think about, is that there's an entire customer journey that has to happen before the sale can take place. And then after that, you have to continuously follow up, right? Like, imagine if you're a chiropractor, you went in, you got adjusted the one time, and then they never talk to you ever again, right? Doesn't
Right.
really make you feel good as a person. So you're not as likely to keep going back, and you don't feel like
No.
they care about you, and
Yeah.
you move on.
No, exactly. It's and this is where I get back to, as small business owners, we need to take a step back and stop making assumptions that that our target audience wants something or this is their problem and things like that. We need to do our research and find out exactly what the problem is, or if they don't know what the problem is, start educating them. Start putting out
Exactly.
educational moments, actually touch points that are going to say, did you know?
Hmm.
Because ultimately, to capture that 3%, you want to make sure that when that point comes up, you are right there in front of them.
Exactly.
So storytelling is a powerful tool for businesses. And how can small business owners effectively weave their unique qualities into a compelling narrative?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's something that every small business owner needs to think about, because let's go back to the beginning of man, and how did we ingest information and then turn that information into something useful? Well, we told stories, right? And you
Yeah.
tell stories because it engages an audience, and we like to hear that, and we like to be transported away from our lives, right? Everybody likes to be transported away, taken somewhere else, figuratively, of course, sometimes literally. But the goal is for us to be transfixed on the person telling the story, and then pick up the nuggets, right? We all learned in grade school, high school, what's the moral of the story, right? And so if I am a business owner and I am trying to get somebody to buy a product from me or buy a service from me, I need to make it relatable. So let's go back to, now we understand what a problem is that our ideal clients are facing. What we do in our business is we will actually do these surveys or quizzes or questionnaires to try and find out what people are actually searching for and what are they looking for. And you ask it in the form of an open-ended question, like, what would it mean if you could solve this problem? And what is this problem you're trying to solve? Great, now I know. So now when I solve that problem, guess what I have? I have a case study. I have a case study and I have a proof point. And there's, if I can back up for just a minute before we get into the actual nuances of the story, it's like, who do you want to help? Right? Not just who can you help, right? If I am making water, well, I can help everyone, right? Because I'm making water and now everybody needs water, but that doesn't mean everybody's going to buy from me.
Right.
And who do I want to help? Well, I might want to help the people that live in remote sub-Saharan Africa because they can't get their own wells. And now I've got to solve this problem. Well, how do I solve that problem? Well, I can do a million different ways to solve the problem, but what can I do to help them? And how can I help them? And do I want to help them, right? So that comes back to a few different things that we all know about: demographics, age, rank, serial number, right? How many kids do you have? Where do you live? What's your income? We can start with that. That's about as far as a lot of people go, right? It's
Yeah.
demographics. Like,
Yeah.
oh, well, we really want to help 45 to 60-year-old moms of teenagers that are busy. And so, we want to do that. Well, the busy part actually is a psychographic thing, but it can be partially demographic. So the next piece is the psychographics, right? If you have 5 chiropractors lined up in a row, you know, they're not going to just choose based off of price. Believe it or not, only about 3% of the market only is bases their entire buying decision on price.
Right.
Most people will find that hard to believe, but it's very, very true. What
Right.
do we base our decisions on? We base our decisions on value,
Yeah.
right? So a Lexus and a Toyota, brand new, very, very similar in a lot of different ways. One sells for double the other one. Well,
Exactly.
maybe, 75% more, but still you get the idea. And the car still gets you from A to B. It's still going to last just as long. It still has most of the same features. So why this person would go to Lexus and that person would go to Toyota? Well, they're looking for value, and they're looking for a value that resonates with them. And
Emotional,
this is the psychographic piece. It's an emotional connection.
emotional connection.
It's
Yep.
exactly. So now we are going after something that is valuable to them, something that is perceived value, and we need to help them see what that value is.
Right.
So for me, for example, like, I don't have a industry focus. what do I focus on? I focus on founders and CEOs who are motivated, ambitious, alpha type personalities, want results, want them fast, and don't want to have to micromanage somebody to get it done, right? So I'm going after a psychographic, and they also relate to me. I'm a former veteran, or I'm a veteran, I'm former military. So they're going to relate to me on another level there. And
Right.
so I carve out my niche based off of psychographics predominantly.
Yeah.
Now let's take that into the story side of things. How do I relay all of that information, everything I just gave you, whether I'm selling a Lexus, whether I'm selling a Toyota, whether I'm selling chiropractor, with it's being relatable through the power of story, telling somebody what's happening, the words you use, where you're sitting in your office. If you're on video, what does your background look like? Do you have things that represent who you are? Like my background right here. I have a lot of things from the military. I have some baseball stuff. I have my kids. I have pictures of my family. I have sailboats. I have my books. All of that is intentional. It's not there because I thought it would look pretty, right? I have a picture of Yosemite right above my head. So why do I do that? Well, I want people at the very beginning to see that and either have questions about it or be able to relate directly to it almost immediately without me ever saying a word. Okay. I
Right.
wear t-shirts like this, grumpy old veteran, because it attracts my target audience. It gets me in front of the people that understand that, and says it's a sense of humor as well, right? There's all these different things that play into it. And so your personality comes through in the stories you tell. And your stories, in a way, are not just beginning, middle, and end, like we learned in grade school, right? It is
Right.
all those other things. And that's what
Yes.
people want. They want to be taken away. They want to hear the story. They want to hear about Nancy, who came in, who was really struggling because her back was hurting and she's waking up in pain every single morning. And it wasn't even the pain, because Nancy could deal with the pain, but what was getting her was she was so tired at the end of the day, she couldn't play with her grandkids whenever they'd come over. She couldn't do anything fun with them. And Nancy was really struggling because this is affecting her emotional state. Now
Yeah.
Nancy is going to bed and she's crying herself to sleep sometimes, not from the pain, but because she can't be the grandma she wants to be.
Right.
Nancy came in and within 2 visits, she was actually able to start seeing her grandkids, living the life she wants. And over the course of several weeks of treatment with us, she went from feeling miserable and depressed to being the happiest grandma you could possibly imagine. Right
And that's
now,
and that is critical. That's it. That's important to understand, that emotional connection, because people buy on emotion.
100% buy on emotion, justify with logic, right?
Yep.
Everybody does
Exactly.
that. And the best salespeople don't go after the price point. They don't go after the product. They don't sell the product. They sell the end result.
Exactly.
And your marketing needs to do that as well. And so, like, there's different types of marketing as well, man. And, we haven't touched on that, but marketing is a system. Marketing is a system to generate awareness, traffic, leads, and take an action and generate a sale. But if you look at Coca-Cola and how their marketing is very different than Red Bull, right?
Yeah.
But neither one of
A
those
different
companies is
market
saying,
too.
go buy Red Bull, go buy Coca-Cola. Completely different market, right?
Yeah.
And it could be, they're going after different people sometimes. Sometimes they're just going after different situations for the same people,
Right.
right? But during Christmas time, Coca-Cola always has their polar bears and they have their loving and share a Coke and all of that sort of stuff. It's
Yeah.
the kumbaya moments that are going on. What does Red Bull have? They have the guy jumping out of a hot air balloon 50,000 feet above Earth, driving straight towards Earth, with his spacesuit on. It's the adrenaline, it's the rush. Red Bull gives you wings, right? It's things like that. And so that's the emotional connection. And people see that. Now, that's big brand advertising. They have a ton of money to spend on it and throw at it. But
Right.
you can still do that as a small business owner in your local market in a different way, right? You can use the same strategies, which is the emotional connection. And then you go after your target market, which we identify through demographics and psychographics. And then you tell a story that's relatable to them. And that's relatable story, whether that's through mail, through email, through blog posts, through podcasting, whatever. Now you start drawing them in. And so going back to the 5 chiropractors in a row example, I'm going after chiropractor XYZ because he gets me, because he understands what I need, right? Going back to what you were
Yeah.
saying either earlier, if they don't have this special type of therapy, I don't want them. This person gets me. I'm
Well,
going with them.
and that's exactly it. With myself and with relating to my clients and things like that. What they immediately get out of me is, I've had 2 failed businesses before, so I know what they're going through. I know the struggles that they're reaching, and coming at them with the knowledge base. Okay, I understand you. They catch on to that very quickly, And then I
Mhm.
can speak to them in a language that they understand, because most of these early stage small businesses, they don't understand business. They don't understand marketing. They have a good product or service that they can produce, but they don't know how to build an infrastructure around it. And so trying to explain and educate them to that, you have to do it in a language. You have to come to a point where they're at, as opposed to, what I've been taught or anything like that. As a marketer, we can come at them with all kinds of, terminology and approaches and things like that. But if they can't understand why and understand the process, it's going to make it difficult for you to bring them on.
Absolutely. And people like to be part of something,
Right.
right? They like to know that the people they're giving their money to, their time, their energy, their resources to, relate to them
Exactly.
and can understand them at something deeper than a surface level,
Yeah,
experience.
it
And
is.
so the stories you tell help relay that information. And the other thing is stories, or, facts tell, stories sell, right? We've all heard that.
Yeah.
I could tell you, I could say, okay, well, here's what you need to do. You need to go to Google, pay per click, and you put this ad out there, and this is going to do this. And then you need to go Facebook ads, you're going to retarget using this, you're going to do all that sort of stuff, blah, blah, blah. And I could tell you all the numbers, all the conversion rates, what you expect. Here's what's good, here's what's bad, here's what you need to look for. And I can wow anybody with information, right?
Yeah.
And they go right over our head. Okay.
Exactly. But you give them a success
Versus,
story.
yeah. But then I could say, hey, I totally understand that this stuff is really confusing to you. And that's understandable. That's why we're here, right? I really want to make it simple for you. So you can either go do it yourself or you have us do it. But here's what we really want to do. We want to go out there and find your ideal people wherever they are, whether that's online or offline. And we want to help them get to resonate with you. And we do that using tools like Google and like Facebook, but we can also do it with direct mail and all these other things. But here's what happens when we do this. If we put it together the right way, your ideal person is not going to go a day without hearing from you, seeing you, learning more about you. And that's what you want. You want to build up that know, like, and trust factor before you even talk to them. That's what we're going to help you do. So would you like to be able to do something like that and then let our team just manage it all? Or would you like us to just show you step by step how to do it?
Right.
Right.
Well,
It's
exactly
easier
it.
that way.
Yeah. And then the process doesn't stop at the contract. It's
Mm-mm.
important to understand that customer experience continues through the entire time that they're working with you, because you want to ultimately build those loyal subjects or those loyal fans on the back end, because ultimately they become your sales team.
They do. Yeah, word of mouth is huge.
Yeah,
Nowadays you have things like Trustpilot and Google reviews and Facebook reviews, but the Facebook reviews seem to get scammed and spammed all the time for some reason. Facebook needs to put a lid on that. But the
yeah,
fact is that people want to hear from other people. They don't want to hear, like, they can learn about me through podcasts. They can learn about me by reading my blogs or reading my emails and things like that. And as long as I'm not trying to sell them, they appreciate that. The moment that Jeff Barnes tries and sells Jeff Barnes, all credibility is lost, right? But if
exactly,
Dana comes out and says, hey, you need to go talk to Jeff. Jeff is the guy that's going to help you fix your problem. They're pretty much sold before I even talk to them because they
exactly.
trust you, right? And
Yeah.
so building that know, like, and trust factor before the first interaction with you is so critically important in today's day and age and being successful.
And that's where marketing comes into play.
It is
That's where
100%.
marketing comes
Yeah.
into play. So, in a world filled with marketing noise, what role does authenticity play in helping small businesses stand out?
I would say, and I tell this to people all the time, if you are not being authentic to your core values and principles, you are doing yourself, your customers, your clients, and your patients a complete disservice, because that brand that is being built is completely, especially as a small business, it's built on the backs of the founder, the owner, the CEO,
Right.
and building up a principle centered business that is founded on core values. And you attract people that have those core values into your business. You say, these are our principles. We will not, negotiate on these things because this is really important to us. And just by doing that, I mean, we see it every single day on social media right now, just by doing that one thing, hiring based on principles and core values, marketing based on principles and core values, your unique value proposition
Right.
based on your principles and core values. Those are the things that are going to attract people to you. And how do you do that? Well, you have to be authentic, right? Like I joke with my Navy buddies that it's so much easier being around them than what we call civilians, people that have never been in the military, simply because I can be my real self, my true self. I can say whatever I want, off color or not, and they're not going to be offended by it and they're not going to hold it against me, right? And vice versa. And we can talk about stories, we can talk about the good old days, whatever we want to do, but we're friends, we're tight, and that's because we're authentic with each other. And we also appreciate that. Now, if I was that authentic self with somebody who doesn't know me from the streets and doesn't share the same principles and core values I do, they're going to be offended, right? And this is the thing that a lot of small business owners need to be okay with, right? I was told a long time ago, the way to the most important skill set in becoming successful is your immunity to criticism.
Oh, yeah.
So what does that mean? If I start putting stuff out there, and this is going to happen to anybody who starts getting online, social media blogs, speaking at an event, whatever, there's going to be people that just don't like you, right? Especially in this day and age of nasty trolls on social media. They're just going to tell you how your hair wasn't done right, you sounded funny, you stuttered too much. That's not a real word, or why did you say it like that? Or you're so full of it, you don't even know what you're talking about. They're out there. Everybody gets them.
You know how many
You have
times
to have that.
I've said things that aren't real words and it still gets across.
Yeah, they get it, right?
It's that passion. It's what comes out. Yes.
Yep. And so there's going to be those people that hate it, and that's okay, right? Your goal in marketing is to attract your tribe to you and repel everyone else. And
Right.
so that's where authenticity comes in. I want to attract people to me who are going to resonate with what I'm saying, how I'm saying it, and my principles and core values. And I'm going to get rid of everybody else, because guess what? Those people that don't resonate with me, they are the biggest pain in the butt, clients, customers, patients, you name it. And
Yeah.
they're going to make your life miserable and difficult if you allow
Right.
them to.
You'll end up firing them anyway, when you think about it. So
Yep.
a lot of small businesses, we always talk about your niche. What is your niche? And a lot of small businesses, they fear that by niching, they're restricting their audience. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How can they strike a balance between being unique and appealing to a broader audience?
Yeah. Well, the first and foremost, the thing that you need to understand, or every business owner needs to understand, is that when you're solving a problem, not everybody has that problem, right? There's so many different types of ways to solve simple problems that you're not going to be able to answer everybody's call or help everybody who even has that problem. And so people will need to find that solution that is right for them. And when you do that, when you hit that nail on the head and you have the messaging that aligns with your target audience, when you are giving a product or a technology or a service, a solution of any kind to your ideal customer, they are going to love you and they will pay you for it. And there's more of those people out there than you would possibly imagine. But here's the thing, if you don't start with a really clear, concise core offer, right? Your flagship offer, if you will, to attract only a few people. I don't care if it's 20 or 20,000, but if you cannot get that offer solid and figured out, then it's really, really hard to expand out from there.
Yeah.
Right. So I would always tell people, listen, the very first thing we need to do is we need to construct an offer that's going to resonate with our exact customer. And you do that by building out that buyer persona, ideal customer avatar, whatever you want to call it. And that starts with knowing thy customer, right? Now, when people talk about niches, they might talk about, oh, just go be an agency for chiropractors. Only go do that.
Yeah.
And I could, right? If I know that's the industry I want to go into and I can learn it really well, and you start with something like that, you say, okay, we need to learn the vernacular, we need to learn language, we need to learn how they talk. And if you learn all that stuff, you will be far leaps and bounds ahead of your competition because you know them better than they might know themselves.
Right.
In a lot of cases.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And tell me, I don't know in your experience, but in my experience, it's amazing when I'm working with my clients, when we're talking about, really honing in on your message and getting that message clear out there. They will automatically start realizing, oh, I got it. All of a sudden, that light bulb will go off because more and more people are attracted once that message is clear and they can talk clearly to it. Do you see that happening with your clients when that happens? I mean, it happened to me as well. Yeah.
Yeah, nonstop, right? I have a client in the e-commerce space. Actually, I have a number of clients in the e-commerce space, but this one was really struggling to sell products because there was a we call it the marketing triangle. There's the media, the market, the message, right? Well, we had the media. We knew where they were because we have Facebook, Google, YouTube. We have all these different media covered. We know that our people are out there because it's a health and wellness vertical.
Right.
But the message wasn't resonating with them. Like, this technology is so incredible. And there's all these words, and, a customer, especially really, really smart people, struggle the most with this. They're like, I want to use words like, subluxation. I want to
Okay.
talk about, 13 nanometers of light penetration into the skin. They want to talk about this stuff because it's so cool to them and they love it and they're geeking out over it.
Yeah.
But the fact is, the market doesn't know what the heck that means. They're like, what's bioresonance, right? What's a biofield? I don't
Yeah.
get it. What do they want? I want to get rid of my brain fog. That's what I want to do. I want to get rid of I want to, like, this is why we do these surveys. You know what it would mean to me if you could solve my back problems? And I mentioned this in the story. It would mean that I could finally be present for my kids. It means I could finally, go on a date with my spouse because I'm not in pain all the time, and I can actually get my makeup done and put the clothes on without being in so much pain by the time I'm done that I don't want to do anything. It would
It
mean
means
that I
I
don't
can
feel
go on a
depressed.
cruise this year.
It means I can go on a
That's, yeah,
cruise
go
this
on a
year, right?
cruise this year. So yeah.
And so again, once you identify that customer avatar that you want to go after and you figure out what their pain points are and you talk about that, the solution is irrelevant,
Yeah.
right? They just want to believe that you can solve their problem and they don't care about how you do it, right? Now, some might, like, I'll give you the chiropractor example, right?
Hmm.
If you have somebody that has sciatica and they've been going through traditional medicine, they're like, oh my gosh, my next step is surgery. Are you serious? I'm like 45 years old. I don't want to go through surgery. So what's the problem that they have? Well, the problem is that they have the sciatica. Yeah, we get that. But what really is the problem is they're scared of surgery. They don't want to do that. They don't trust it. They think that they're too young for it. Right. So now the problem becomes, how do you fix this pain that I'm dealing with a non-invasive approach? How can I get rid of this? How can I exhaust all other options before I have to go into the knife?
Yeah.
That's what they're looking for. They're
Yeah.
not looking for, I just want to fix the pain. It's
Yeah.
how I get the pain fixed. And so you have to speak to that.
Yeah. No, definitely, definitely. So can you offer any valuable resources or tools that small business owners can use to aid them in this journey of uncovering and communicating their messages, their uniqueness?
I refer people to sites other than ours regularly because there's so much learning that needs to happen in order for people to believe that this is even the right way to do it,
Right?
right? If I try and tell people, we're not selling your product, we're selling your story, we're selling you, they're like,
Yeah.
no, sell my product. Like, I can't do that yet. Um, so there's a book out there by Alex Hormozy called $100 Million Offers. It talks about what is an offer, how can people actually understand what it is you're selling.
Yeah.
That's what I need to know. I need to know I need to know what I'm buying, right?
Yeah.
Irresistible Offers is another great book out there. I go to Dan Kennedy regularly for
Oh yeah.
direct
Yeah.
response marketing ideas. Like,
Yeah.
he's one of my favorite. Um, and then of course use ChatGPT, right? Use
Well, and that's what I
ChatGPT
was
to ask the questions.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is if you use ChatGPT and you put in the qualities or the benefits or the features that you bring to the table and just tell it, I'm looking for a clarifying elevator pitch or marketing message or something like that, and let it, you got to train it naturally in what it is you want to reveal, so that's one way of doing it. There's so many different things out there. There's books, there are oh goodness, a lot of AI tools out there, those kind of things. But
Yeah, we've developed
they,
some AI tools ourselves to help out with that buyer persona piece because that is so hard. And here's
well,
the
and
one thing that I would,
yeah,
oh, go ahead.
one of
Okay,
the
I was
things
going to
I
say
was
that
going
the
to
one,
say, one of the things I was
I
going to
love
say,
the,
okay, time out. Okay. One of the things I was going to say, another book is Simon Sinek's, First Ask Why, or Just Ask Why, because by identifying your why, the story will come out. Because there's
it
a
will,
reason
it
that you
will.
started your business, right?
And you have to dive deep into that, right? Most people
Yeah.
never do.
No.
And it's really challenging to solve everybody's problems. You can't solve everybody's problem, but it's really hard to solve anyone's problems if they don't understand why you're solving it.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say that the big question that every small business owner needs to answer, absolutely 100% needs to answer in their business, it is, why should I, your potential client, prospect, customer, do business with you over and above every other option available to me, including doing nothing at all? And if you cannot answer that question, then you don't have what we call a unique selling proposition.
That's
And that
great.
unique selling proposition is vital for you to find your audience and how to solve the problem for them.
No, I love that. I love that statement. Say that one more time.
Why should I, your potential customer, client, do business with you, Mr. and Mrs. Business Owner, over and above every other option available to me, including doing nothing at all?
Yeah,
And that last part is really important because
I
guess what? People won't solve a problem if they're apathetic about it.
And that's absolutely right. I love that statement. I don't know why I haven't heard it before, but by putting it in that genre, by specifically asking that question, okay, you're actually making yourself vulnerable in having to respond to it.
Mhm. And
You know,
sometimes it's an ugly truth.
it is.
You know,
It is
if somebody says,
absolutely.
like, why would they do business with me? I don't know, because I'm the cheapest. Because they haven't really spent any time thinking about it. And if you've
Yeah,
never spent time thinking about it, it's a long, like, this is not something you answer in 10 minutes. This
no,
is days, weeks, months coming to the right answer for that.
that's true. That's true. So, Jeff, what's the one key takeaway or piece of advice you'd like to leave with our audience?
Oh, geez. If I had to choose just one, it's understanding your customer, your client, your ideal person at such a core level that you can speak to them using a story that helps them to understand what it is you can do for them. And if you don't understand them, then you're never going to be able to get that story out the right way.
Very good. Very good. So we're coming up on the end of another episode of Charged Up Studio. And thank you, Jeff, for joining us today and shedding light on the importance of making a statement in the marketplace and how we can do it. How can our audience members find out more about you and what you have to offer, your programs, etc.?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. So, of course, you can find me on LinkedIn. Our website for Digital Evolution Marketing Group is demg.io. And on that website, right front and center or at the very top right, you will also find a marketing assessment that people can take for free to find out how effective their marketing actually is.
Very good. Very good. So that concludes our podcast for today. Please leave a review on any of the streaming platforms you happen to be listening to us on currently, or go to Charged Up Studio's Facebook page and leave a review there. Charged Up Studio is the product of Marketatomy and Marketatomy Academy, the e-learning system designed specifically with the micro business owner in mind. For more information and to register for our many courses, go to Marketatomy, marketatomy.academy. And until next week, when we'll bring you another exciting guest, this is Dana Olivo signing off, and go out and have a charged up week. You've been listening to Charged Up Studio Live, the podcast with you, the small business owner, in mind, with your host, Dana Olivo. Join us every Tuesday as we bring you valuable tips and insights into many of the topics you don't know about growing a successful business. Please leave us a review on any of the streaming platforms you are listening to, or visit us on the YouTube or Facebook page and leave a review or subscribe so you don't miss another episode. You can also support us through Patreon by visiting our website, chargedupstudio.live, and click on the Patreon link. Until next week, go out and have a charged up week.